Sabres Live is presented by Seneca Resorts and Casinos. Nothing else comes close.
We are going to overtime.
2023 starts off with an unfortunate setback in Ottawa, but busy times ahead. We'll see how the Sabres regroup. Welcome into Sabres Live Overtime. And when you're serious about the game, bet on Buffalo with the only sports books in Western New York. Seneca Resorts and Casinos betting counters are open daily. Self-service betting kiosks available 24/7 at all 3 locations. So whether you visit Seneca Niagara, Allegheny, or Buffalo Creek, the Sports Lounge features the latest lines and multiple screens, so you never miss a play. The Sportsbook at Seneca Resorts and Casinos, where the love of the game meets the thrill of the win. Marty, the 6-game win streak is over. The continual disappointing results in Ottawa are front and center once again, but we won't dwell on that. I think the bigger area to focus on here, since it's on everyone's mind, is what is going to happen in the days and weeks ahead with Buffalo's goaltending situation now that Eric Comrie is working his way back to full health on a conditioning assignment in Rochester.
I'm glad you're asking me that question in 2023, because in 2022, I had a different answer. And now that the calendar is flipped over, I've got a new answer. So a couple of weeks back, I actually said on our Sabres Live show that I think UPL probably finds his way back to Rochester with Anderson and Comrie handling the goaltending duty in Buffalo, and hopefully things all go well, and there's production and performances, and there's wins, and that could always change things up. But I think what I saw over the last 2 weeks with UPL now tells me that he is in the driver's seat. UPL is in the driver's seat. I actually think he would benefit from continue to play in Buffalo. Earlier in the season, it was all about playing. UPL needs to play 55 games this year. If it's in Rochester, it's in Rochester. If it's in Buffalo, it's in Buffalo. It doesn't matter where. It's just playing. Now, the way that I've seen UPL progress the last 3 weeks, his confidence level, the players' confidence in him in the net, I'm saying, okay, now the playing part still has to be true, but it has to be in Buffalo. So now you're saying, okay, well, if UPL is in the driver's seat, where does that leave Comrie and Anderson for the other spot, right? And so you look at the future. Comrie's got another year, and you signed him to be that guy that could compete for number 1 spot and play a lot of games. Unfortunately, he got injured and missed some time. So you still got to give him the games. And that leaves Anderson kind of as the third guy. And that's unfortunate. But I would assume, and I'm just saying assume because I don't know, that he understands the situation, that knows what the future for the Sabres is and his role with the team. So I would think that for the foreseeable future here, that the Sabres would keep 3. When Comrie's ready to go, they would play Comrie and UPL and see what that rotation does. Maybe you fit in Anderson once in a while, but you probably are going to keep 3, which was the last thing I would ever think, because I don't like a 3-goalie system. But you're focusing on Comrie and UPL, and you go with that.
But then what does it do for your 23-man roster? Who are you exposing to make room?
Well, so that's the problem. I think the only player right now that I would expose and say, okay, that player could go back to Rochester and play, for me, it would be Casey Fitzgerald. So that leaves you with 6D on the roster. Now, you could always call up somebody up and make a change if there's a need on D with an injury or something to that matter. But I don't think Hinostroza and Asplund would be good candidates for waivers at this moment, because they could still be the extra guys, skate every day, get ready. Maybe you slide them into the lineup if there's a need up front. But I don't like seeing Casey Fitzgerald not play. And right now, with the way the top 6D is, and at some point, Yokaru is going to come back. You're going to have another decision to make. But as it is right now, I think my solution to the 23-man roster would be have Casey Fitzgerald go to Rochester, have only 6 defensemen on the roster. I know it's very dangerous to do so, But that would be my easy, quick fix for the near future.
Well, the important thing to note is that Jokiharju will be coming back, and the way we've seen the ice time lately, the question now has to be asked, is Kale Clegg ahead of Lyubushkin and Bryson, and is Bryson a candidate like Fitzgerald at some I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty now with the bottom of the group, which then leads to the next question. Does this team, do they need to, and or from the fan standpoint, should they, or it's a combination of both, should they be looking for another defenseman to solidify this?
I don't like saying that they should look for another defenseman right now. I think Kale Clegg, funny enough, you mentioned him. He's not even in my thinking right now as a candidate to be sent back down to Rochester. He was one of the latest to be called up and has played extremely well in a role where he's logged in a lot of minutes. So that's not even entering my mind. So yes, I would think after Fitzgerald, when Jokiharju comes back, you're looking at, well, I don't like to say Bryson or Lyubushkin. I don't think either of them are going to Rochester, but now you're going to have hard decisions to make. But there's still some time, and who knows what would happen when it comes to the health of players and injuries that you may encounter. So you kind of just punt it down the road and you see what happens then. But no, I am not moving Kale Clegg, and I'm not ready to look at another defenseman just yet. This group of 6 right now, and especially Dahlin, Samuelsson, Power, and Clegg, the top 4, have responded really well to some adversity the last few games. They had a 6-game winning streak where they started the winning streak with having Power hurt, playing 5D, and then having to play with only, Dahlin and Samuelsson that were really your regulars for a little bit. So they responded well, and I want to keep building on that. That's not where I would look at adding a piece right now.
Lyubushkin only played a couple of shifts in the third period against Ottawa, and Bryson's minutes have been significantly down. 12, 15, 12, I think, the last 3. I don't know.
But that's to be expected, Duffer, because you do have Dahlin, Power, Samuelsson, and Clegg.
The point is, it's not, because the coach just spoke openly about not wanting to be giving his top 3 guys close to 30 minutes, and then did just that in a 3 and 4 stretch. So the minutes here and the discussion about the minutes is actually really important.
It is important. And if you are winning the game 3-1 or 4-1, different. But I would think that if my team shows up at the start of the season with Dahlin, Samuelsson, Power, and Clegg, or Jokiharju, or whatever combination you want to put in the top 4, those 2 pairs are playing 22 to 24 minutes a night.
They're playing 25 to 30 now, Martin.
I understand.
It's a big difference.
But let's stick with my math here. Play 22 to 24 minutes a night. Okay. That's 45 to 48 minutes in the top 2 pairs. That leaves you about 12 minutes for the third pair, right? And I know that Lyubushkin only played 2 shifts in the third period against Ottawa, and really, he had a tough night. Not gonna lie, but a lot. Samuelsson, I didn't think had a good night against Ottawa, but you're still gonna put him out there, right? Because he's your top 4, and you're gonna rely upon him to work himself out. But if you have Dahlin and Power, and they're young, and as they gain more experience, Dahlin is there right now, Power will, it wouldn't be surprising that the top 2 pairs would play 45 to 48 minutes a night, 24 on average for the top 2 pairs. That leaves you only 12 for the third pair. So I'm not really worried about the third pair. You'd like to go 20, 20, 20, or maybe 22, 22, 16, but it's still not a lot of minutes for the third pair.
I'm not worried about the third pair. I'm worried about the 29 minutes for Owen Power, and the 29 minutes for Dahlin, and the 29 minutes for Samuelsson, when they just did 3 and 4. Tuesday's going to be a 3 and 4. There's 6 more 3 and 4s. You say they're young. They're not going to be young at the end of January. Not at this pace.
Okay.
So why don't they go get Chychrun?
Okay. So number one, I think it's going to cost an arm and a leg, and I don't want to do that because it's not it's not the foundation that the Sabres have
You
built.
understand they have lots of arms and legs, right?
Yes,
to move.
but those arm and legs I don't know if those arm and legs at the end of the day are where I want to go. That's one. My second point is okay, so I look at Tampa and they have Hedman and Sergachev. And okay, so if those play on average 25 minutes a game, they should. And, you look at other teams that have the top defenseman. If Roman Josi plays 25 to 26 minutes a game, 28 minutes sometimes, he should. He's Roman Josi. If Cale Makar does and Devon Toews, they should, right? The Sabres will have this setup on the back end where you're going to have a top four that could play the full 60 minutes if you wanted to. And I really don't think that's a bad thing. Now, yes, you want to give them, a few easier nights, but you're pushing right now. You're pushing for the playoffs. One year, Duffer, and I'm going to go back to goaltenders in a way. I played 72 games the 1 year. And I remember my agent talking to Darcy Regier saying, oh, we don't want Marty to play 72 games because long-term, that's not going to be good. I'm looking at him like, what are you talking about? Play me 75 games if you have to. I want to play. Right now, Dahlin, Power, Samuelson are saying, bring it, right? We want to play.
I'm not disputing that at all.
I know you're not, but I'm pretty sure that conversation happens.
Maybe I listened too much to our own broadcast, but all we heard last night was how the Senators were targeting Dahlin and how worn down he was.
I think everybody was worn down last night. And
I disagree. I think it's the nature of the game. We're not even halfway
And then
through.
Don said after the game, Dahlin was fantastic and Power was fantastic. He really liked their game.
I agree.
He wouldn't change anything. So going into Ottawa last night again and going with his coaching staff and saying, okay, 3 and 4, and we may have to rely on a couple of individual more than we usually do. Who are these guys that we want to put out there more? Dahlin and Power. Okay, good. I think that's basically what it's come down to.
Well, Argentina, don't cry to me when this month ends and, somebody's feeling bad about the increased minutes. So, well,
and you look at Tage Thompson in the Ottawa game, even in the Detroit game, coming back from the blizzard and the Christmas break and all of that. I don't think Tage was all that fantastic in those two games where we've seen Tage, even though still was able to produce. But I think Tage is the kind of guy, just like Dahlin and Power, where after the game against Ottawa, said, I wasn't good. I need to be much better. I want to be better. I want to be able to say, hey, put me out there. We're down a goal. I'll give you something. Mm-hmm. I think they're developing that right now. And that's what Don's working on. And so maybe this year you're putting Dahlin out there a little bit more. You're putting Power a little bit more. You're putting Thompson a little bit more. Next year or in 2 years from now, maybe you try to pull it back a little bit because you develop that side of their character.
That sounds like a backwards way, because the minutes go up for Doughty and Josi and Carlson as the career went on. It doesn't regress. Yeah. We know that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying you want to develop that. Yeah. I want to be the guy that is being relied upon right now. So put me back out there. So that's what they're doing right now. And it's the same thing with UPL. I think they see an opportunity to say, well, let's play him. Let's play him more. And because there's that opportunity, the same thing for Dahlin and Power. Let's play him as much as we can because there's an opportunity for growth right here.
Yeah, I'm not disputing the capability of them to play those minutes. I just think if they had a little bit more depth and balance, then it wouldn't have to be this severe this early on in the season. They haven't even come close to hitting the hardest part of the year yet.
Yeah, we're not even halfway in the year. I totally
No, but
get that.
Look at January. That's what I keep saying here. Like, this is unbelievably challenging. Last night was the first time we mentioned 3 and 4 all year. It doesn't mean it hadn't happened. It's just now it's becoming a reality. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's a few different things come into play, but
okay. Well, let's flip. Let's flip. You mentioned Thompson.
But let me ask you a question, and then we'll go. So if you did have, Jokiharju back in the lineup, and you're looking at 5 guys that can play a little bit more in the power, Dahlin, Samuelsson, Jokiharju, and Clegg. Okay, let's put those 5.
I don't even understand. I don't know how Clegg has ended up in this position. I really don't.
Because I think he's played well, and he can be
but
relied upon.
Okay.
I think just like UPL 2 weeks ago, I didn't think UPL would have been in my, let's keep 3 goaltenders, because I've done the 3 goalie thing and I don't like it. I don't think Clegg was in that conversation either. But 2 weeks later, I'm putting Clegg, on a step way above of Bryson and Lyubushkin right now. And I'm saying, okay, so I like what Clegg's done. I like that he's added the stability, right? A little bit like Samuelsson can be a little bit more of a stability type person. I like what Clegg has done. So if you have Jokiharju in there and that's your 5, and a lot of teams go to 5, like later in the game, they'll sit 1 and they'll go to 5. If that was your 5, do you feel the need to add to it? Or do you think, well, it's pretty good right now for where they want to go?
But Jokiharju would change all that, I would think. But as far as the forwards, you mentioned Thompson. It is rather stunning that they've rattled off the number of wins that they have in the last month, based on the fact that the scoring numbers are really, 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 really down for a lot of the players. Now, they've been fortunate in that they've kind of had this, sprinkling of one-offs, like an Opozo hat trick, like a Middlestat game, the occasional Krebs or Joe's contribution. But beyond the top 5 players, which would be the top line plus Cousins plus Dahlin, there is not much happening offensively with this group. So how much of a concern is that right now?
It is a concern. And it is a concern that Granato kind of, I don't want to say addressed, but felt that he had a need to change a little something in the Ottawa game. So he moved Cousins with Middlestat and Olofsson and put Jost with Peterka and Quinn.
They didn't play, by the way. Jost, Peterka, Quinn had 3 shifts in the third period.
3 shifts, yeah. And that was basically going down to, Krebs, Oposo, and Gergensons were doing their job, and he could rely on them. But I don't want to say limiting your offensive outburst or output, because, Oposo had a hat trick and Zemgus scored in the Ottawa game. But they're not the ones you should be relying upon to score and score regularly. There's the other guys. But I'm going to park Quinn and Peterka aside, because first year NHL, they did have a really high where that line, the Cousins line, was just performing at an extremely high level and fast and fun to watch. And now there's a drop off, and it's to be expected, but you have to keep giving them the reps, at least to start the games, right? You have to keep giving them the reps. And if in the third period you have to limit their ice time because of the way the game is being played, that's fine. But you have to keep them in the lineup, in my opinion, and keep working them to learn.
But wouldn't now, or I shouldn't lead in that way, would now be a good time to put them on different lines?
Not for me.
Okay.
Not yet, because I would say that normally, generally speaking, they've had their moments. Yes, Colorado, Arizona, Vegas was not a good 3-game stretch for them at all. But they've had their moments of consistency, at least to say, okay, they bounced back and they played Detroit on the Thursday night after a long layoff. And as a line, their Corsi was, I think it was 12-3 at 5-on-5, right? They were able to consistently put themselves in better position against the Red Wings, and you move forward. You kind of build off of that. I still think the big issue right now for the Sabres, and although Casey Middlestat ends up finding himself scoring 2 goals against Detroit, is always going to be, how do you find offense and consistent offense with Middlestat and Olofsson? And Olofsson had a chance against Ottawa to say, I'm going to contribute. I'm going to make a difference here. I'm going to put it in the back of the net. And there was not a lot of threw that one-timer in the slot in the third period that Forsberg made the save on. So
right.
That to me is still going to be the issue that moving forward, you need to find something going there.
So Olofsson has 2 goals in 14. That puts him on a considerably different pace than what he established out of the first 12 games of the year. Asplund has sat for 12 of 16. Vinny Hinostroza has sat for 11 of the last 12. What does all of that mean? Are we likely to see, again, players coming in and out up front? Is Olofsson actually a candidate to come out? What is gained by making any changes at this point in time?
Well, the process of elimination tells me that, yes, it would be where Middlestat and or Olofsson would be the first one on my list of, okay, if you want to make a change up front, that's where you would go first. Before you go to Quinn and Peterka, that's where I would go first. I still don't think this is the time to do it. And unfortunately for Asplund and Hinostroza, they will have to wait. It's not game 5 of the season where you're working a rotation. It's not game 20 of the season where you're like, okay, we still got to give some guys better look. This is going to be game 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. You're halfway in the year. I think you know who your 12 are and who you want to work forward with at this moment. So fortunately for Asplund and Hinostroza, they're 13 and 14 on the depth chart. I'm not making that change yet, but the first place I would look is, how do you get one of the two going? I think Casey gets himself in more situations that I see, number 37, that I'm like, okay, there's a Casey Middlestat sighting, and maybe it's on the power play, which did not do a good job against Ottawa, probably the reason why they lost. But Victor, for me, is not putting his best foot forward in more than scoring, in one-on-one battles, in the forecheck, and things that you notice in a game. That's the problem. And March 3rd is the trade deadline. So there's a couple of months until then. That's going to be a 2 months where there's going to be a lot of speculations around certain players.
Well, you refused to engage in the defense acquisition discussion. So what is your target then, pre-deadline or at deadline?
I can't give you players right now that I would target because I haven't done.
What generic insider enough. Are you right now?
I am a jarred insider. That's not my job. I'm an analyst. I'm not an insider. So no, I'm not there yet. But what I can tell you is we're going to go back to our original question, scoring 4 or more or giving up 3 or less. What's the best?
4 years ago, Marty, I told you have to be able to outscore your problems in today's game.
I was all about defense.
4 years at least to catch up to that thinking.
Yeah, exactly. But I look at, okay,
sorry, it's 11.
The Ottawa game. No, it is. I've changed a little bit because the way the Sabres played for the last few years, especially when Housley and Kruger were coaches, was, oh my gosh, look at the defensive zone coverage. They're all over the place. You got to build the defensive side of the game. With Don Granato, it's been a lot different. So now to create the identity to score goals is, to me, the most important thing. To be number 1 in the league or top 5 in the league in goals per game is the most important thing. They scored, they win. They only scored 1. And even though they only gave up 2 against Ottawa, the third one was an empty net. They end up losing. So getting to 4 goals is my key. How do you get there? Get something up front to make that third line go, a piece there, so you can have Thompson line, Cousins line, and whoever, Krebs, Jost, whoever. Maybe it's a new center that fits in with Olofsson and Middlestat. Maybe that's the way you look at it. But for me, it's about adding that piece up front that makes it just go game after game after game, that you have that push to score goals every night or every afternoon.
Well, it sounds, I'm a little surprised. I wish you would attach like a hypothetical name or at least a comp to make me understand what you're looking for, because otherwise I would say, wouldn't you maybe graduate somebody from Rochester who's on an uptick right now?
Yeah, no, because well, maybe that is the key, but the reason why I say it's more via a trade and why I don't have something coming back is more about the fact that moving forward, and I'm looking at next season and 2 years down the road, I don't think you could continue to sit here and say, oh, we're getting the same thing out of Victor. Oh, we're getting the same thing out of Casey.
I don't think anybody wants to look to next year at all. I think that's why everybody's so excited about this current group and would like to help it now in its current form.
I'm going to look at it as compared to when we kept looking at Gergensons and Larsons and say, oh, we can't keep going with those two in the lineup. One of them is going to have to move. We got to open the door for new blood to come through, right? And they signed Gergensons and Larson went in and, did not resign, and boom, you're moving forward. I feel this next 2 months is that time when it comes to Middlestat and Olofsson. And I know we've been critical about those two, but to me, that's where the log jam is at right now. And when that log jam gets opened up, at least one side or the other, then we can move forward. And then we can say, okay, we filled that gap, that need. Let's look at other places to fill it in. But that's where the log jam is for me.
All right. Anything else?
Well, I had a lot of my stats that I wanted to bring up when we talked about Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, but we don't
Rattle
have
and hum.
to.
Let's go.
Well, I was going to tell you all the times I made 15 or 16 saves in a win. And
you don't have to. They're in the game notes every night.
I know, exactly. I don't have to bring it up. But no, I don't buy the narrative of, wow, big emotional afternoon game in Boston. You come back to win and then a letdown in Ottawa. To me, it wasn't about the emotional letdown. It was about they were sloppy. They were sleepy. Physically, I didn't think they had a push at all. They played well enough to win, but they didn't. Now, okay, can you rest on Monday and really get that same jam physically on Tuesday against the Washington Capitals, who just over the weekend pumped the Montreal Canadiens line too. Now, I don't know if you saw Ovi taking a picture with the Montreal Canadiens mothers that were on the trip. So I thought that was kind of funny, but yeah.
Was it before or after?
It was after the hat trick. Ovi just pumped the Montreal Canadiens for a hat trick, beat them 9-2. And he's taking a picture with the moms after hey, this is great. But anyway.
Can I tell you that from what I saw, Montreal might have deflated themselves. It might have had less to do with Washington. The Canadiens. And sorry, I should have started this year with an apology, but considering I do it just about every day of my life, I really should have apologized for, being bullish on the Canadiens being better than what the insiders were telling us they would be.
The analysts.
They have somehow, in somewhat shocking fashion, just decided to, pack it in here in the last couple of weeks. It has been brutal
we
to
saw
watch.
What happened.
I mean, we're talking Chicago-esque brutal at the moment. And by the way,
got a bad
how
one
about
Sunday night.
Every game is a disaster for them. So anyway.
Well, Patrick Kane did score, but I'll say this. Look at what happens to the Sabres when they had all these injuries on defense and they lost 8 in a row. Right now, Montreal's playing with 5 rookies on the blue line, right? So,
dude, they won in Buffalo with 5 rookies. Don't give me that.
Yes, but over consistent timing, they're starting to wear down a little bit.
Oh, don't tell me
now.
There's going to be a cumulative effect now on the defense. I feel like that's how we started
because
the show.
They're young and they're inexperienced and they're
Who's
rookies.
Who's younger than Samuelson, Power, and Dahlin as a top trio in the league?
Dahlin's got 300 games or whatnot, and Samuelson is 53 years old, trapped in a 23-year-old body. So that's a difference right there. But no,
that is true.
Again, I'm saying refresh on Monday. Come hard at Washington Tuesday night. That is what is on the docket for me. If I was in that room, that's all I would have on the whiteboard. That's the only way the Sabres will be able to go and start again a new winning streak.
You ever going to get to a Bandits game again?
I hope so. I know there was one over the weekend that you went to that was fun and exciting, and they're 2-1 right now, but I hope I'll get there soon.
Why don't you make more time for the good things in life?
Well, between everything that's going on and like trying to catch hockey games online and on sometimes
You know what? That's getting old for me. I think
catching hockey
my
games
New Year's
online.
resolution is like maybe I should stop watching hockey. No.
Okay, you watch more lacrosse, watch
No,
more.
just I don't know what the next is, but maybe I just need to stop watching hockey. I will promise you this: I'm not going to watch the Winter Classic. I have less than 0% interest in that. So
Okay, well, I will be watching it, although I was very disappointed in the choice of outfits by both teams to show up to the Winter Classic because it was very uninspirational. They both came out in baseball gear. The Boston Bruins in old Red Sox uniform and the Pittsburgh Penguins in old Pirates uniform. Like, be a little creative there. That was the obvious choice. I wish somebody would have come up with a great, surprising, like Nashville and St. Louis when they just really hit it out of the park.
I'll leave you with this. I thought Don Granato's words were really just so on point after the Ottawa game. And it's, you're never going to win all the games. And it was what it was. But I thought his analysis of each individual player was just perfect. It was like you said, the tone, everything about it. And I think that's what continues to encourage, this group. And I think it allows us to continue to have a really level, measured look at the entirety of this picture right now, regardless of how we go down these little tangents and want to make lineup changes and roster moves and this and that and the other thing. The Granato effect is alive and well, win or lose.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times watching it on TV, you have a different sense of the game, and after the game, you listen to coach, you're like, what is he talking about? Or even seeing it live at the arena. Sometimes there's a different feel from our set to the bench.
Yeah.
With Don, I think we've been pretty spot on this year, and we see the same thing he's seeing.
Yeah. I think we're spoiled, quite frankly. So
yes,
long may that last,
right
and
yeah.
we will see. It's going to be another busy week. Thanks for joining us on Sabres Live Overtime. We'll see you soon.